Welcome back, fam. We continue our great streak of spring events just rolling on. Welcome back to another special edition of Zip It Up Pod. Last week was a special episode. I'm not going to sit here and call every episode special, but listen, last week was special because we were coming off of a Chase Elliott win, but we did not do our Bristol preview. So that's what today is going to cover. We'll do a Bristol preview, but we got a few topics before we get there. I'm going to do a little bit of a Masters comparison today, followed by Corey Day's career best race in the O'Reilly Series at Rockingham. We're going to talk that for a little bit. And I always say I'm looking forward to these episodes every time I start because I am. I love talking wheel. And so thanks for coming back and joining for another episode. Let's get right into it. Like I said, this is just the best time of year. Spring is in the air. Actually, it's not very much in the air today. It's a gloomy day in Central Florida. We are in the middle of a 3-day window where it's just rain, 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 which we needed. We were in a drought over here in Orlando. But yesterday, we started getting some rain. Today, it's just been cloudy and gloomy and wet. And I think we're going to get a little bit more tomorrow. But after that, things should start shaping up and looking more like sunny Florida. And tomorrow, there's definitely a brighter day ahead because tomorrow is the first round of the Masters. Cannot wait. Looking forward to getting that tournament underway. What a great weekend we have ahead. We got 4 full days of the Masters. In fact, if you want to count today, you can count today because as I'm recording, and I say today like you know what day I'm talking about. I'm recording on Wednesday afternoon. So right now we actually have the par 3 contest going on. I hate to be missing that, but I love to be doing this. As soon as this episode's over, we're going to park it in front of the TV for the next 5 days. And man, this Sunday is going to be awesome. This is the week to have 2 TVs because we'll have Bristol and we'll have the final round of the Masters all commencing at the same time. It's going to be great. And don't forget, fellas, dudes, and ladies, we get the full Dandelion album from Ella Langley this Friday. So we're going to have the bops bopping. Okay. Where my Ella fellas at? Let's go. What a week ahead. Before I get started and get too far, I want to revisit something that debuted on the last episode. So last week, coming off a Chase Elliott win, we debuted the Wintro. Okay, that was the first time you heard it. So every time you start a new episode of the Zip It Up Pod, you're going to hear one of 2 intros. The main intro, the primary intro, is for most episodes. In fact, all of last season, we had the same intro. I found a guy that does the intro for me, does a lot of podcast intros. So I went back to him over the off season coming into 2026. And I said, hey, I got an idea for a second intro, like an alternate intro. And so it's only going to be the intro on episodes that follow a win. And so that's why I called it the Wintro. So you have to go back and listen last week, or you can wait until one of our Hendrick Motorsports drivers wins again, and you'll hear it then. But this past week with Corey Day, that as that race was winding down, as he was dominating, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, I started thinking, am I going to have to do the Wintro on those episodes that even if Corey Day wins? And so I would love to hear y'all's feedback, what y'all think. Should the Wintro only be something that gets played after a Cup Series win, or is it after a race that even Corey Day or someone wins the O'Reilly Series? Or let's say we have a driver that drives an H&MS truck at some point and we win a truck race. That's not going to happen this year, but that could develop down the line somewhere. So I would love to know what y'all think, because going into the season, I didn't think Corey Day was going to win many races, if at all. And so I was thinking just Cup Series wins. when one of our HMS drivers wins a cup race, we'll do the Wintro, but it was heavily considered this past weekend when Corey Day was dominating that race at Rockingham. So, like I said, we'll get to that in a few minutes, but want to get to a couple other things first. So, only really one bit of news that I'm going to touch on out of the NASCAR scene is Cletus McFarland was turned down by NASCAR for his ride at Talladega. So, he will not be racing in the O'Reilly Series at Dega. He will be in the ARCA car. And, everyone has their thoughts and opinions. I want to make mine very clear that I don't blame NASCAR at all for that. I think that is probably a good move for NASCAR. They might be setting a little bit of a precedent here and strictening up their rules in order to qualify for races, or not qualify, but to at least be eligible to race. And so obviously, Cletus is not ready for Dega yet. Just going off of his resume and some of the testing sessions he's had, I guess, has not given him eligibility according to NASCAR, and that's all right. I don't think that just anyone should be thrown on the track. No, I love Cletus, and I really hope he continues to pursue a career in NASCAR. He's a great personality to have, and he's fun. Would love to watch him race competitively eventually, but you don't want to let him in the race just to go, hoping to run 30th. And that's ultimately what he's going to be doing in any O'Reilly races right now. Yes, he needs time in the seat, but he needs to get those in ARCA and trucks first and continue to work his way up the ladder, climb the ladder. So um, I'm good with it. I like the call by NASCAR. And but like I said, I really hope that Cletus sticks with it and continues to pursue more track time and seat time in these other series first. So let's go ahead and move on. My goodness, we're 7 minutes in and I haven't done a toast yet. So I guess that would be the perfect segue into this next section. Um, this toast is going to go out. Yeah, I mean, look, none of my toasts make sense hardly, but I'm a dude's dude. I'm a sports junkie, and it's one of my favorite weekends of the year. So of course I'm going to toast to the Masters. Augusta National Golf Club hosting uh, maybe the best tournament I think in the entire world. That's it. I know that there's a conversation to be had there. You can make arguments for March Madness. You can make arguments for the NHL playoffs being a phenomenal tournament. Wimbledon is certainly up there in the tennis world. Okay, so the Masters is top five. It's probably top three. A lot of people would say it's number one, but this is a great weekend for golf, and it's the biggest weekend for golf out of the entire year. So we're gonna raise our drinks. I got a great value water because it is the middle of the afternoon. Um, I need to hydrate a little bit more before I go have some Kobe Steakhouse tonight. So if you know, you know. And so this water is in preparation for a full weekend of golf at Augusta. All right, cheers, everybody. Let's get this episode underway officially. As I mentioned, I got some Masters comparisons for you. So I did this last year on the episode leading up to the Masters. And what I've done is I've just taken a few NASCAR personalities and I'm comparing them to some golf personalities. And I'll see what you think. Maybe you'll come up with something better. Uh, but these are all personal comparisons that I came up with. And I'll explain each of them why I think that they are comparable. But I have all of our Hendrick Motorsports drivers included, except for Alex Bowman. We're going to let him sit this one out as well. Okay. But I did include our O'Reilly drivers. So I'll save the Hendrick drivers for the end. And then I got my favorite comparison at last. So I'm obviously not going to do the full field. That would take way too much time. But I've got some notable names that I'm going to bring to your attention and give you a golf comparison. So let's start with Ryan Blaney. We all love Ryan Blaney, as well as everyone loves Tommy Fleetwood for whatever reason. Okay. Both of these guys are very smooth. They're very technical. Okay. Both in the race car and on the golf course. You can never count either one of them out. Okay. Even when they're down the leaderboard. These guys are going to stay competitive. They're always going to be around at the end, even in the big races. They're going to remain competitive for a very long time throughout their career. All the big races, all the big moments, Blaney and Fleetwood somehow rise to the occasion, find their way at the top of the leaderboard. Okay. Next, I got Denny Hamlin. And I believe his golf comparison is Patrick Cantlay. Okay. Here's why. They're both pretty well known within their sports, but obviously, we got to include casuals as well. People that tune in every now and then and don't watch as much as the diehards do. So Denny Hamlin, household name. Patrick Cantlay is somewhat of a household name as well. They're both very calculated. Okay, I'm speaking like analytically. They pay attention to the data, and that's what kind of drives their skills. They've both been around for a good while now. They both have a lot of victories under their belt. They're both very polarizing figures, and so much so as, they both kind of get the short end of the stick from the fans. Denny Hamlin often gets booed when he wins. Um, and Patrick Cantlay, he gets booed and draws a lot of criticism from the fans because of his slow play and how quiet he is, non-personality he is. So thought that those were very fitting together. Next up, we got Tyler Reddick. This one's pretty simple. Tyler Reddick's comparison is Tony Finau. Now, both of these guys are repping Jordan brand. Okay. They've always been very respectable talents, just hasn't really broke through to be like that top guy. We're starting to see that with Tyler Reddick possibly, but can he close out the hot start that he's had to the season and win a championship? We haven't seen that from Finau either, but they can both go on hot streaks. We've seen that out of Reddick. He won 4 out of the first 6 races this year. Now can get the putter rolling. And that can not only turn over hole from hole, but day to day, he'll get on a hot streak. And even tournament to tournament, weekend to weekend, both Tyler Reddick and Tony Finau can go on a hot streak, okay? All right, let's get into our Hendrick Motorsports drivers, all right? We'll start with the most popular driver, Chase Elliott, but his comparison is not the most popular golfer. So the golfer that I have to compare to Chase Elliott is Cam Young. This guy, he is stone cold. Doesn't show a lot of emotion. Chase gets a lot of that from the fans for having not much of a personality, and that's kind of how Cameron Young is. He doesn't get, neither one of these guys gets put in conversations as the best in their sport. Obviously, Chase sexuals think so, but generally, these guys are not regarded as the best driver or golfer. But they're always competitive and consistent. Okay? They don't have many bad days or many bad rounds or many bad races. And they're going to win just enough to stay very relevant, and they'll be around for a very long time as well. Okay. Next up, we got Kyle Larson. And I'm going to compare Kyle Larson to Phil Mickelson. Okay. Both of these guys, they got obvious talent. They're going to go down as one of the greatest to ever compete in their respective sports, but I don't think they're ever going to be known as the best at their sport. Okay. Phil wasn't able to keep up with Tiger, his big rival. And Larson, I guess his biggest rival was Denny Hamlin, who is kind of outdoing him right now. But Larson has drawn a lot of comparisons to the guy he grew up rooting for, Jeff Gordon. And Larson's just never going to reach that status. Okay. Not that he and Jeff are rivals, but like that's kind of the trajectory that they're putting Larson on. And it's a little unfair to him, I think. He's just never going to reach that mountaintop. And Phil, he certainly had some better days than Tiger did, but everyone knows Tiger was GOAT. Okay. And Phil was always robbing. So next up we got William Byron. This one was a tough one. Initially, I wanted to go Will Zalatoris because, they both continue to look like children, like kids, grown kids. But I think I got a better one that fits William a little bit better. So I'm going to go with Sung JM. Both of these guys, they're very fearless. They make bold moves on the course and in the race car on the track. They both have had very fast rising improvements throughout their careers. They're still on the early side of their careers, so a lot more game left in both of them. So they're going to be around for many years fighting for championships. I think that's a pretty fair comparison between Sung JM and William Byron. All right. And then we got two more. So we got Corey Day. This is a new name for a lot of NASCAR fans. Okay. And his comparison is Chris Gotterup, which is a new name for a lot of golf fans. Both are very young. They are young stars in the making. Okay. They are currently on the rise, and they have a lot of similarities in their trajectory right now, both very much on the rise. And with that comes a lot of high expectations. And we're seeing that pile up now for Corey Day. The better and better he gets and the better he performs on Saturdays, the expectations are going up for his Sundays. So same thing happened with Chris Gotterup. I think that's a guy that you're probably going to see compete very well in the Masters this weekend. And then the last one I got for you, probably my favorite one, but I have a comparison for Kyle Busch, and I'm going to compare Kyle Busch to Tiger Woods. Okay. Both of y'all thought I was going to say Ryan Preece, didn't you? No. Okay. So both of these guys are legends in their sports. They are one of the best to ever do it. We see that with Kyle Busch, Tiger Woods, both very good at what they do. They're going to be remembered for a ton of wins. Okay. Kyle Busch has over like 200 something wins throughout all three series of NASCAR. Tiger, I think, has over 80 something victories, a ton of majors. Both of them going to be remembered as legendary winners within their sport. But also, that neither one of them can drive worth a lick anymore. Yeah. Kyle Busch he's struggling. I know I didn't present that well, but Kyle Busch is struggling to run 25th every week. And Tiger Woods is struggling to drive down the street. So Kyle Busch and Tiger Woods, folks. I thought that was pretty good. Okay. I know my delivery wasn't all there, but that's a fair comparison. I'll live and die by that one. Okay. I'm going to die on that hill. All right. That's it, though. That's all the Masters comparisons I got for you. So we're going to hop into our O'Reilly recap real quick from this past week at Rockingham. And we saw our boy Corey Day. Remember, last week, Corey Day is coming off of a career best second place finish in Martinsville. And now we're going to Rockingham. And he has his career best race at Rockingham. Not his career best finish, but he did have a career day. And he's making us all believers. That's for sure. Corey Day had a dominant weekend, man. He won his first career pole in the O'Reilly Series. And then he won not only his first stage of his career, but he won his first two stages of his career. Swept the first and second stage on Saturday. He led 118 laps in the race. And, dude, unfortunately, some miscues happened. Some pit road stuff happened. They played it safe and lost track position. But even with his rocket ship, he was able to drive back up to 10th. I think it was the last corner of the race. I was hoping the top 10 streak would stay intact, even though he wasn't going to win. I saw he was 11th, and I think the last corner, he passed somebody to continue that top 10 streak. So right now, he currently has 7 straight top 10s. His only result outside of the top 10 is the first race of the season at Daytona. He finished 27th, wrecked. So, man, I'm loving what I'm seeing from Corey Day right now. I, um, I am sold. I'm sold on him, okay? We came into this season saying we want to give him time. We're gonna be patient with him, and we saw some growing pains at first, some run-ins, and those were especially noticeable because they were JRM cars that he was running into on the track, but he's cleaned that up, and I know he's gonna face some more adversity at some point, but right now, he's killing it, and he's staying free of the adversity, and we need to give him time. I'm not, begging to put him in the 48 car next year, even though that's going to have to be considered, I believe, from what we're seeing. We might have to consider putting him in that 48 full time, but I'm not vouching for that just yet because we haven't seen enough. We need to see him overcome a lot more adversity. Zilich went out and won, what, 10 or 11 races last year. They moved him into the 88, and now look what he's doing on Sundays. He can't keep up, and that's part of growing pains for Connor Zilich. He's a young kid, and Corey Day's in that same boat. He's so young. He's going to continue to have some of these growing pains, and that was one of them on Saturday. I don't fault him at all. You can't fault Corey Day for the 10th place finish. I'm actually very impressed by the way he came back and did finish top 10. And I was thinking, after the first two stages, like, I've seen enough. He's the guy to beat today. And I did feel like something was going to keep him from winning the race. It was just too good to be true. He was having a Justin Allgaier type of race, but all these guys, all these drivers have had dominant days where they don't win. We've seen that from Denny Hamlin recently. Okay. Um, and that's just part of it. Sheldon Creed had what, 15 runner-up finishes in the O'Reilly Series before he finally won his first race earlier this year. Corey Day's already in the conversation of being one of the guys to beat every week. This is a phenomenal rise that he's had already. And again, that word trajectory it just stays on my mind because the trajectory he's on, it shows us as him being a stud one day in the Cup Series on Sundays. And right now is not that time. Let him continue to get the seat time. Let him continue to face adversity and try and overcome these and collect the wins. Because, like I said, even Zilich last year, with as many wins as he had, he came over to the Cup Series, and now he is struggling to get top 20 finishes. So, whenever they do make the move to put Day into a Cup ride, he's, he's going to have a lot of expectations on him just immediately. And probably because it will be in a Hendrick car. I think it's kind of inevitable that he's going to be a guy in a Hendrick Motorsports car. Corey, if you're listening to this, and I know that you're getting better advice from more qualified people, but don't take any deals for any other rides next year. It's very apparent that you're going to end up at HMS for a full-time ride on Sundays in the Cup Series. So just stay the course and stick the plan right now. Don't be worried about going and driving for any other teams or cars, man. You got it made. So just continue to get that seat time. And I know he's got great people in his ear. Jeff Gordon, Kyle Larson are probably two of those guys that are talking to him constantly and advising him. So if he just stays the course, man, he's going to have those high expectations whenever he does take over a cup, a cup ride for HMS. But man, just really pleased and really impressed by what I'm seeing from him. And yeah, he's going to have some bad days. Everybody has a bad day, but we haven't seen it now in almost 2 months. So, really love what we see from him. All right. Um, yeah, that's all I wanted to say on that. I'm going to update you on the driver standings headed into Bristol, and then we'll give the Bristol preview. Okay. So, let's look at the Cup standings once again. Going into Bristol, Chase Elliott is sitting fourth in the standings. He's minus 104 to the points leader. William Byron is fifth in the standings. He's minus 115. Al Larson is ninth in the standings. He's minus 147. And then, of course, Alex Bowman, we got to mention the guy way down there in 36th. He's minus 330 points. And Bowman, Alex, man, we hope to see you back soon. I hope he's healing. He's had some a good amount of time off, but some things you don't want to rush. And I don't have, any clue what vertigo's like, but we don't want him to rush it. So, man, just continue to keep getting well and getting better, and we'll be rooting for you when you get back in your car, man. Um, O'Reilly Series, we got a Hendrick driver that moved up in the point standings. As Corey Day, I believe, was 7th last week. Now he is 5th, top 5 in the O'Reilly point standings. He's minus 150 to Justin Allgaier, who's leading those points. He's dominating. So we got Tyler Reddick and Justin Allgaier leading the points, but we got some drivers that are making gains both on Saturday and Sunday. That didn't feel like that was the case a month ago, but things have turned for the better, and I hope they continue to turn this weekend at Bristol. So here is your Bristol preview. I'm going to give you each of our drivers' history in the Cup Series at Bristol, starting with Kyle Larson, who has 19 starts. And in those 19 starts, he's got 3 wins and 1 pole. He's got 8 top 5s, 13 top 10s, including 11 in his last 13 starts. He's led 1,762 laps here, and his average finish is 11.6. This is one of those great tracks on Kyle Larson's resume. Chase Elliott has 17 starts here. Now, that doesn't include any wins, but he does have the All-Star race win. He also has 1 pole, 5 top 5s, 9 top 10s. He's led 444 laps, and his average finish is 12.8. William Byron has 13 starts at Bristol, which includes no wins, no poles, 2 top 5s, 5 top 10s. He's never led a lap at Bristol, which I hope that that's correct. But the source that I used, a very trustworthy source, said no laps led at Bristol. That is so hard to believe. I got to be honest with you. Boy, I had a hard time wrapping my mind around it when I wrote it down in my notes. And now that I'm having to say it to the podcast listeners, that's just crazy. So hopefully that changes soon. But his average finish at Bristol is 16.1. So if there's a weak track for William Byron, this is it. Bristol is that weakness. All right. Justin Allgaier in the Cup Series at Bristol. I think he has 5 starts, and that includes no wins, no poles, no top 5s. He does have 1 top 10 finish there. He hasn't led any laps, and his average finish is 19.2. And then Corey Day ran Bristol last year, and he finished 17th in the O'Reilly Series. All right. So let's look at the betting odds for this weekend, and this is according to the Hard Rock betting app. For the Cup Series, your favorites. Kyle Larson is the favorite to win this race. He's plus 400. And just to put that in reference, Denny Hamlin is the second highest favorite. He is plus 500. But then we got William Byron, who is plus 1,000 this week. Chase Elliott is plus 1,300. I think that those should be probably flipped. And then Justin Allgaier is plus 10,000 to win. A few notables that I got for you. Ty Gibbs is plus 850 to win. That's probably the lowest odds you're going to see for Ty Gibbs, but he's on a little bit of a heater right now and coming to a really good track of his. So he still doesn't have that first career win in the Cup Series, plus 850 this week, though. Ross Chastain is plus 4,000. I want to mention him because he's really been down. Trackhouse has not been great, and Ross is one of those guys. He's expected to compete. And, a couple years ago, even last year, it was rare that you would see him, over plus 3,000. A lot of times he would be plus 2,000 to 2,250-ish area. So plus 4,000, very high odds for Ross Chastain. Just expect a little bit more, a little bit better out of them. Josh Berry is plus 5,000 this week. Short track guy, had a top 10 at Martinsville. I don't think Bristol will be the track that he breaks through, but we didn't think that at Las Vegas last year when he won at plus 6,000 odds. And then last, I'm going to mention Connor Zilisch. We mentioned him a couple times today, and we just talked about his teammate at Trackhouse. So Zilisch is plus 20,000 to win the race at Bristol, and that's just the story of his season right now. So let's put in our predictions. I got 3 picks for you at Bristol. Pay attention to a Hendrick driver, a non-Hendrick driver, and then a long shot. So first, we're going to go with Chase Elliott. I think coming off a Martinsville win and having a week in between should help him. You know, last week I mentioned the trend of his good race, bad race, good race, bad race. Well, we're coming off a good race. So you would think that means the next one's going to be a bad race, but there was a week in between. So hopefully that week off broke the trend, and now it's going to be good race from here on out. We'll see. Also, he doesn't have that first points paying race at Bristol. He's got the All-Star win. We know he can get it done there. He's had some really good runs at Bristol. So we'll see if he can break through this week. There we are, messing up the words. My non-Hendrick pick this week, I'm going to go with Christopher Bell, who's plus 600. That one, I got to chalk it up to a funny feeling on him. You know, a lot of times that's what I base my predictions off of, are funny feelings, what my gut's telling me to go with. And I'm telling you, 90% of the time they're wrong. But Christopher Bell, really can't go wrong picking him here at Bristol. He should be in the mix. So he would be my non-Hendrick pick this week. And then the long shot. We are going to go with Christopher Buescher, who is plus 3,000 to win this race. He's also one of those guys, competitive, consistent. He'll find his way into the mix somehow, some way. If there's a guy that's going to pull off, you know, a little Hail Mary and a kind of like a miracle race out of nowhere we didn't see coming, Buescher could be that guy to do that. Okay. So that's all I got for you today. You know, I love the hills of Tennessee, but I've never been to Bristol. So I don't have the restaurant recommendations for you. I can give you the Gatlinburg recommendations, but no, I can't give you the Bristol recommendations. So go get you some Cookout or Bojangles. That's what I would do. Fast food guy. Love both of those places and the sweet tea that comes with your meal. So, no restaurant recommendations. Let me just give you the schedule for this weekend, and then we're out of here. The trucks will race Friday night at 7:30. That will be on FS1. And then Saturday will be the O'Reilly race. That is also at 7:30 on CW. And then the Cup Series race is on Sunday at 3 o'clock on FS1. And that's when you're going to want a second TV, because the Masters final round, they'll be on the back nine. And that they say that's when the tournament begins. So it doesn't begin until the back nine on Sunday. It's going to be a great weekend. Like I said, cannot wait to hear everybody belting out some Ella Langley. I just want to be her so bad, it hurts so bad. It hurts. All right. I'm gonna end it right there. I promised I would never sing on this podcast, and I broke the rule, but I'm an Ella fella. So what you gonna do about it? Thank you for joining once again. Y'all have a great and safe weekend. Stay dry, stay warm. It's springtime, baby. Enjoy it. Okay. I'll see you next week.